dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. I am your host, Josh Levine, and I'm joined here by my longtime friend and my co-host, Travis Hatch. And today, we have the one and only Anthony Spada of the Ace of Spada podcast with us, man. I have been waiting to get you on here ever since we recorded, it seems like forever ago on your podcast. So this has been a long time coming. So tell us, how you doing, man? It's been a while.
Dude, it has been a while. I think we recorded back, I want to say it was August.
It was like
right?
July or August. Yeah.
Dude, it's been, since then, it's just been a wild ride. I started a full-time job. Coaching has really started to take off. It's been a pretty crazy last few months, and let alone the past 5 months in general since then. It's been even crazier. A lot of things have just changed in my life, and it's been pretty cool. So I'm excited to be here. I think it's pretty cool to be on the opposite side. I think this is my third time doing this. It's pretty cool to be on the opposite side of it.
Yeah. Because you interview some pretty high level guests, and when you asked me to be on, I was like, really? It was a little bit imposter syndrome kicked in. I was like, me? For real? And I told you, I was like, we're going to start a podcast. We're going to have you on it. 6 months later, here we are.
Travis, I also kept nagging him to put me on.
Yeah. When the fuck am I going on the podcast, Josh?
I was like, once Travis buys the equipment.
It takes me a little while, I gotta weigh the options.
Yeah, well, and we had when you go to start something, and you almost want everything to be perfect, but really all you have to do is take action.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of that.
That was me.
Yeah.
I put it on, I don't think I ever posted, I actually might have posted it one time. It was in my notes app last May, or not 2020 May, 2019 May, when I really started to get into podcasts and actually listening to them. I put it down, wanted to create my own. And then it took me 3 months. It took me until August. So it took me another 3 months until after I put it into my notes to actually start it. Because this $70 mic and Zoom and the software that I want to use was kind of holding me back from starting it.
Is that what was really holding you back, or what was holding you back from starting? Was it just because I'm interested in this, because for me, for us, I think it was just the equipment, but there's a lot to research. It was I wasn't sitting there just being I don't know if I should do it or not. That entire time was really spent researching and thinking about things. So I kind of go back and forth on this idea of procrastination. I think sometimes it is you just not taking action. And I think sometimes you're really just in a research phase. Did you feel like you were procrastinating, or were you still preparing to start?
I think it was actually it wasn't even just an action thing. I think it was a fear of what the response would be. That was the main thing with it.
It's vulnerable.
When I started the podcast, my following was still very small. It's still not absolutely huge. It's I finally reached over 1,000 followers a few days before 2021 started, and I was pretty damn excited because that was one of my goals in 2020 was to get to 1K, and I was at 300 something followers, and I was like, this really ain't gonna be big. Who's actually gonna listen to this? That was the thing. So I had no clue what to actually do, and I honestly had no direction. I think it was that research thing too, in a little bit of sense, where you're where do I even want to start? Because that's the fear that a lot of people have. It's they think too much about, what's the first episode going to be? Because everybody thinks the first episode is the determining factor of how well your podcast is going to be. And everybody could go listen to my first episode that I did a year and a half ago, and you can hear how shit it is. I think it was a 17 or a 20-minute episode maybe. And so it was kind of that fear of what would the response be? And it's casually grown throughout as I've gotten better guests. But yeah, it was always just that like fear of response, basically.
I think that holds a lot of people back. And, you know, what it comes down to is you just got to take action. I mean, our first episode we haven't even released. I don't know if we're going to release it.
That's how special it is.
That's how special it is.
It was really, really special.
It was very special.
Dude, I have a few of those.
Yeah.
I always have a few that I've recorded myself because I do that second episode during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I just like ramble on the mic for like a half hour to like 45 minutes. And I'm like, why the fuck did I just record that? And then I'm like, this would just be a great hidden episode that I might just drop like one random day down the line.
Yeah, and like not tell anybody.
Yeah.
It's just like all of a sudden it's like a bonus.
Just on like you release every Wednesday, just release that on a Monday or a Saturday.
And like only the real ones will know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only the actual followers. And it's not like, and honestly, I'm going to be fully 100% transparent. It's not like the podcast has been an absolute huge growth. You know, I look at people like when you look at someone like Justin, for example, I mean, I hate comparing myself to him when it comes to the podcast because his followers is like 50, 60 times mine. And he goes, yeah, we're shooting for like 1 million downloads or something. And I'm like here, and I'm like getting like 100 downloads per episode. And I'm like, this is still great. I honestly, it's not like I'm sponsored by anybody, like I am, but it's not like I'm doing it for anybody but myself.
Yeah.
I honestly created it because it was a way to tell my story, but I also used it as an excuse to kind of get an hour or an hour and a half with some of these great people in the world.
Yeah. And you're making a big impact. And as long as you're staying true to your purpose, which is for you to share your story, people are going to relate to it. So,
I mean, you have amazing guests on, but like you said, you're at like 1,000 followers. So, I mean, I think that is one of the things that really holds people back. They're saying, I'm not worth it. I don't have 500K followers on Instagram. So why would I'm not going to be able to get good guests on, but that's just not the case. Did you feel that way? Did you think like you weren't, like you'd have trouble getting some of these guests on, or like how'd that kind of happen?
When I was in your spot that you guys are now, in like the first 10 episodes, I mean, my 4th episode, I had Jordan Syatt on. Like, how crazy. Like how, like kind of looking back on it, I was like, I didn't deserve to have him on like that early in the podcast game. Like, I kind of wish I didn't, but you know, I really kind of, the key thing that I've done, and I think a lot of people don't do when it comes to social media, is they don't treat people as humans. Like, that's like the biggest thing that these people who have 500,000 followers, like when they actually provide value, like you look at someone like let's say like Erin Diamond or Jordan Duggar, like 2 of the people that I've had on, they have massive followings. Like, and yes, they have a lot of relatable stories to everybody, but a lot of them also treat these people as like, oh, they're these high-end business folks that I don't think I'd be able to get on or something. And they think of them as like these gods of like 7-figure businesses and stuff like that, when in reality, they just want to have awesome conversations with great people. So I think being relatable and being able to kind of share your stuff, I would always send them a post about me, who I was, what I did, especially after I told my story back in February when I actually put it out. I would always share that with every single guest and kind of give them a little background to who I was. And so that was number 1, was always treating them as a human, no matter what their following was. Number 2, there's 3 points here. Number 2 is I always interacted on their content. Like whoever's it was, I was always commenting. I'm always finding a way to create a conversation with them so they know who I am before I even get in touch with them to maybe come on the show. And number 3 is I just don't give a fuck if they say no. I've been rejected multiple times with people.
That's important.
Saying it's not the right time, saying like, I don't have enough following, because there are some people who will actually take a look at how many downloads you do get. There has to be a specific number. Like, I thought the Mind Pump guys would have a specific number. Like, I was worried about those guys, kind of. I was like, these guys are really freaking high up there. Because who in the fitness industry, at least in the podcast game, doesn't look up to Mind Pump Radio? Like, they have over 1,000 episodes. Like, it's crazy what they've done for the industry. And they were just like, I think I messaged Adam first, and he was just like, yeah, sure. He's like, email this person. And I emailed them, and I got it scheduled. It wasn't the easiest thing. It might sound like that was the easiest thing, but finding a date to line up with everything, I was just like, you give it a shot. And the worst answer that they give is no, or I'm not ready to come on your show at this time, or I don't have time. So I think people got to approach it in that sense, where you just you can't be afraid of a no.
Yeah. It's like asking out a hot chick.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst that happens?
And like the like really hot chicks at the bar, a lot of people aren't asking them out. Maybe they want to just go to dinner with somebody and have a good conversation, because everyone's like, oh, she's going to say no. In this case, the business owner is like, I'm sure tons of people reach out to them, but the bigger they are, it might be less than you'd think. Yeah. Because the majority of people are going to be like, they're not going to say yes, so fuck it.
And they just want to connect with a good human.
Yeah. I think that's just like super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually relatable, because you brought up the bar. I mean, I was a bouncer for the past 2.5 years, and it's actually pretty funny, because you're actually generally able to have a conversation with some of the guests. Like, we're not like rude ass bouncers where we're just like I'm not the biggest guy. Like, you see me, I'm not this scary.
I don't know, bro.
Actually walk around.
I don't know. I've seen you.
Yeah, but I wasn't that big back when I'm not as big as I am now.
30 pounds ago?
Yeah, probably. I think like 30 pounds. But being able to just kind of have those conversations, like, you're able to just chat with people, have small combos. Like, when you're a bouncer, it's pretty cool to kind of have that job, because you're able to interact with people. And I think that's also kind of made me not be afraid of a no, because the amount of drunk people that have told me no when I'm trying to kick them out of the bar has been a lot. And it's pretty funny, and you kind of just shrug it off and kind of laugh about it. And that's what you kind of do. It's kind of like you asked that hot girl and you got rejected, and it's like, oh, you kind of laugh it off with your buddies saying how you failed. Like, that's what you do.
It's a numbers game, man. To not be afraid of just reaching out to people and be relatable and be a human. And part of your story that I really like, and what you and I had talked about in pretty great detail before I came on your show, and how we connected, in that we have pretty similar paths. We we come from a pretty dark place, and today's a very special day for you. And I wanted to see if you would be willing to share why that is and how your life has changed because of it.
Yeah. So, well, this podcast just turned from laughing to this is going to turn very serious. So folks, be ready. So 6 years ago was probably one, I think I put in my story, I said it's one of the scariest, but yet most important days of my life. So back in 6th grade, we'll take it all the way back there. People are like, how many years ago is that? That's like 12 years ago now. I think, if my math's right. I count macros now. I don't
count calories, not years, fool.
But everything was all good. I was chilling, living my life as a kid, always on the trampoline or playing with Nerf guns, doing that random shit. And you get into middle school, and around our area, our middle school is kind of just like a big conglomerate of the elementary schools around us. And everybody develops their friend groups. And, I was always that kid that tried to fit in with people just to kind of feel like I belonged. I felt like I was very forced. And with that came a lot of bullying, a lot of mental kind of stress, I would consider it a form of mental torture. You would say it was one of the roughest kind of years for me, was that first one. And then it continually just got worse. 7th grade went on. It eventually got worse. People were calling me many different names. You had things from shrimp, spadodo. There were countless ones. It's very difficult to bring up, but and then I remember even in 8th grade, I remember one time it was pretty. Guidance counselor actually saw the bullying happening, invited me to the office, and then kind of like didn't even help. It was kind of just a deflection of everything. And that was kind of the point where everything started to really go downhill, was that part. Because that's when I started to feel, that was when the feelings of, okay, I'm by myself. I don't have much. It's kind of just me. And I was always that kid that I talked about it in my post. So I don't know when this episode's coming out, but if you go read my post from the 17th of January, go read it. I was always a kid who would always be smiling no matter what. I was always that kid on the outside that seemed really happy, that I never tried to let things faze me in a way, because I always had that caution of that's what tough men do, is that they don't let like what's happening on the inside come out. And that really started to bite me in high school, but I would always be the one to pick people up too. That was kind of my thing. I think I would fill my cup from picking them up and making them feel better. But it was filling my cup, but it was emptying at the same time. So there was like a hole in the cup, basically, that it could never actually fill up and keep me kind of really happy. And it all kind of boiled over. There were locker room problems when I was in sports. There were countless other times on the field. Coaches saw things. It's like there were many times when people could have said something and they didn't. And it's really funny because I actually got a text today from someone who didn't know how far this actually went. And today, 6 years ago, was the day that I decided I was going to end it. That should have been the time when I did end it. I had a knife. I actually still have that knife. I actually carry it around mainly everywhere I go as a symbol. And there were a lot of thoughts racing through my mind then. I thought what was going to happen. When it did, I was like, will I all of a sudden go? Will the suffering actually end? What are people's thoughts going to be? What would happen when people found out? What would happen to my family when this happened? A lot of things went through my mind that night, and the only thing I wanted was for just pain and suffering to kind of just end, and to be able to just silence everything, from having to being the only male in my family. The only male grandchild, there's still a lot of pressure from my family. So it'd be like, what would happen if I left? The family name ends. There's a lot of pressure there, but it was all, in my eyes, better off if I wasn't here, I thought, because these people wouldn't be able to bully me anymore. It would all just end. So I thought it'd be better. And then those same thoughts were the ones that also saved me in a way. I was legitimately in tears for the rest of the night. And I don't know what saved it. I would say the thoughts were, there might be a higher power. I don't know. But I woke up and I dropped the knife. It was sitting on my floor the next day. I went to sleep. I tried to go to sleep. I didn't actually. I was up for the rest of the night. Popped out of bed when I was supposed to at 5:50 in the morning to get ready for school, and it was like nothing happened. Next day came along, and at that point I was like, fuck this, I'm done with it. And that's when everything kind of changed. But the hardest part is knowing that you're alone during it. I didn't add this part in because I actually discussed it on my podcast, and I want your listeners to hear this. There was a moment, I remember I was with this friend group, and I thought everything was getting better. It was my junior year, the same year. It was like the fall. It was around my birthday. Had this friend group. They were kind of on the side of the popular kids too, on the cooler side. And I was like, maybe I'm actually starting to fit in. Like, we had the same taste in music. Like, we hung out. And then all of a sudden in like December, the hanging out started to get a little less. The amount of text messages started to fade. And then in January, we stopped hanging out altogether. It was pretty tough. And that was kind of that ultimate deciding factor where I actually had no one. I was like, I'm actually alone in this. And there's a disappointment there when people kind of, like, you think they're in your best interests, and then they don't. And that was like the tip of the iceberg there. So that was the hardest part, was that part. It was like a week before, and I was just trudging along, trying to do what was best for me. But it's really, a lot of people don't think bullying could be a big thing, but people don't know until they've been through it. And 6 years of going through it was pretty damn tough. But it's really made me who I am today. Like, it's why I created the podcast. I mean, it's why I created. I mean, my coaching does deal with mental health sides, so like, it's why I created my coaching. Like, everything's really changed from that moment. I had a complete different outlook on things, and from that, and knowing that life couldn't get any worse from that moment unless I actually ended it. I think looking back, that was complete rock bottom for me.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. And you know my story.
Yep.
You know, we come from very similar situations, and you know, we both struggled, and we've talked about this, how there's a certain power in hitting rock bottom, right? Like, every loss can be a lesson if you let it. And in hitting rock bottom, I know you and I have talked about this. Mark Dominic has talked about this, where if you know that that's the worst that things can get, you're not afraid of things anymore. You're not afraid to get rejected. You're not afraid to fail, because you've already been to the lowest possible place that you can go, and you've pulled yourself out of it. And that's one of the most powerful, most strong things any human can do. I talk a lot about how we can turn our struggles into strengths, and that's obviously the name of the podcast, Struggle to Strength. People like us have suffered quite a bit, have struggled quite a bit, but there is no strength without struggle. And I'm very glad and very appreciative that you decided not to go through with this, and that you're still here, because you're doing great things, man. And you're creating an incredible impact on a lot of people, especially considering a topic that many may consider taboo, but that more people deal with than we can imagine.
Yeah.
And especially as a man, I think you're right. We're encouraged to hide things, to quote unquote man up. And you can't just do that all the time. You know, you bury things down that deep and eventually they're going to explode. So the fact that we have someone like you who's willing to share your story and to help people and let them know that they're not alone. They're not as alone as you felt. No one's ever truly alone. So I think it's incredible that you've turned this into a positive and you're now a resource for so many people. You know, a lot of times we talk about, and especially on this podcast, we talk about finding your purpose in life as almost an accident sometimes, unless you're, you know, born a prodigy and you just know what you want to do. A lot of times we find our purpose on accident. Either it's a negative situation or something that's happened to us or for us is really how I like to think about it. And it serves as sort of a life event or a wake-up call. And, you know, sometimes you can't rush the process of finding your passion or your purpose in life. It sounds to me like this was your wake-up call. This was your purpose. And this is what sort of put you down the path of helping others to understand that, one, they're not alone, two, how to improve their lives. And you ended up starting your podcast and your coaching business. Was that your main goal in doing so? Or did you love fitness and health and helping people before any of this happened?
So before I even touch on that, I kind of want to say something. I think when you hit rock bottom, though, you do change as a person. Mm-hmm. I discussed this with Jeff Black, actually. And the one thing that I struggle with even today is still a level. And this is why I also share my story. So I try to share my story as much as I can, is because I'm trying to develop that level of trust and that level of kind of emotional release. Like I feel like people, when they're listening to this, they want to hear, like, they think you would hear tears or something coming out of this. I rarely shed emotion anymore. Like, when it comes to anything sad or anything with that, like on that side of the emotion kind of circle, I can't hit that. And it's a my problem. It's something I need to work on, but that's what rock bottom really did for me. And it's probably been the most negative thing for me, has been trying to resurface that emotional tie, because I want to be able, when I tell that story, to be able to actually shed tears and shed emotion. And I can't, because it's just destroyed me in a way. So it's been tough from that perspective. But to answer your question, you know, I started lifting for lacrosse that February. I mean, I was 120 pounds, like soaking wet in a t-shirt. I was pretty damn skinny.
Yeah, you look like you ate yourself now.
Yeah, that's the.
You're like twice the size.
I feel like I did when I'm walking upstairs. I feel like I have an extra 120 pounds on me, dude. But surprisingly, I put that emotional buildup into the preseason of my lacrosse team, and we live in PA, in kind of that southeast PA area, which is like a hotbed for lacrosse. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a big deal if you're on varsity and stuff like that in our league. And I was putting everything forward into that, and the coaches kind of started to be impressed a little bit, and I thought I was going to make varsity. Then I hurt my hamstring a little bit. I twinged it, a week and a half go by, finally get the go ahead, and the flame kind of burned out from it. I couldn't get back going. So that led to that, but got through lacrosse season, and I started going to the gym, the local YMCA, actually, because my dad was afraid of me getting a gym membership because I was so small. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to get bigger if I don't have a gym membership? So my mom got us a family pass to the YMCA because she thought everybody would get healthy. And I started to use that. And there were a few kids that would always go train after school, but it'd be none of the kids that actually were involved in the bullying. And actually, most of these people that I did go and lift with are some people I actually stay in touch with today. We're not like incredibly great friends, but I still stay in touch with them because they had a crazy impact on my life. But most of the time I go in lifting alone, and I would use that emotional buildup from everything to kind of just put on the headphones, kind of just drown myself in it and just do what I needed to do. I didn't do it the smartest way, I will say. I was one of those guys that would be bench pressing first thing in there without warming up my rotator cuffs. Don't do that, people. It's the one way to surely hurt your shoulder, because I did it. But it was just an emotional escape. And I think my first split was like every other day was legs. And it was, since it was like May, I walk home sometimes. It's like a 2-mile walk. So I go do legs and then I walk like 2 miles home. And I'd be like killing myself. Looking back on it now, I would kind of just be like putting my hand in my face, like, what are you doing? But it was just kind of that moment of just escape, and knowing that it was, even if I wasn't progressing the weights, I was progressing myself by being in there. So that was kind of that first time. The story goes down a little bit farther, a few years down the line. Kid wasn't popular in high school. What do? They somehow get a great group of friends in college. I partied away my first year and a half. I really lost sight of fitness. I think it was due to my priorities weren't there. I wasn't there prioritizing also my schoolwork as much. Like, I was passing with B's and some C's, but mainly B's. And I was a party head. I would say the first year and a half. Joined a fraternity my sophomore fall semester. That also led to a little bit of problems too down the line, because I was trying to do the same thing back that I was trying to do in high school. I was trying to fit in with a group, and I was trying to find my place in school, when I realized I had this great group of friends already, and I shouldn't have done that because I had a solid group. And it was just, and then I found the gym again. I started to work at the bar, and being 100, at this point, I was like 150 pounds. Being 150 pounds, working as a bouncer at a bar is not really too intimidating. So that got me back into the gym. And that's when it kind of sparked. I was on an upper lower split for a while. I would just go to the gym 4 days a week. It'd be something like that. I think I eat like a full chicken breast a day, chicken and rice. Started off with that shit. And then just progressed, dude. I mean, I'll say this. I found my ex-girlfriend when I was working at the bar. She was also kind of essential for my growth. Even though we only dated for like 6 months, we knew each other when I started working at the bar. So we knew each other for like 10 months. That was an essential part of my life, but being able to turn around after going through that phase of partying and everything again is really when I found kind of purpose. And I kind of thought, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, I sat down. Sorry if this is long. I sat down with one of my professors when I was doing really shit in school. And he was like, you're not good enough for this major. And that kind of lit the spark in me for everything again. When someone tells you you're not good enough to do something, and this is kind of your passion, let's just say I envisioned going to Penn State for this major when I visited Penn State back in the summer going into my junior year of high school. So I kind of lined that whole envision up, starting all the way back then.
What was your major?
I did security and risk analysis. So I'm in data and intelligence analytics right now for my full-time job. So it's pretty cool. I kind of nerd out a little bit on tech stuff and finding patterns and everything. So that's why I think I'm really good at the coaching gig, because I'm able to detect patterns between different things. But when someone tells you you're not good enough, that really kind of bursts you. And
I always kind of think it's funny when a teacher says that, because it's like, well, you're not good enough to do the profession. That's why you're teaching it. So.
Yeah, that's true. It's like those who can't do teach.
Yeah,
so
it's like, all right,
suck it.
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, come on. Man.
So that was kind of it, and since then, I mean, it kind of really found it. I was in DC last year working for a dream company. I was still kind of mixing that alcohol and fitness balance. And then there was a few nights where I blacked out and I kind of said enough was enough. I might have had a few during my senior year, but I feel like that was kind of worth it. The one time was my birthday. That would be probably I think that was the last time I blacked out. But I blacked out and I kind of said enough was enough. And I hired my first coach back in August of 2019. And that was when I really started to take off. I mean, we went from like 155 pounds to 175 pounds. And then...
Was that with Mark?
That was not with Mark. Mark was not my first coach.
Who's your first coach?
Matt Saxon.
Matt Saxon. I'm not familiar.
He also runs a clothing fitness company called Fitletics.
Okay.
Pretty cool stuff.
So that was you got introduced into coaching pretty early then. I mean, I took like 6 years before I hired a coach. I was an idiot.
Yeah,
I also blacked out a lot more than you did.
If you think about it, it was around the same, because it was, if you think about it, it's about the same timeline, because it was like August. I started lifting is 17, found my first coach when I was like just beyond, when I was about to turn 21 or 22. Okay. So it was around like 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Close to it.
Okay. Yeah, I always wish I found a coach sooner. I was just like stubborn and dumb.
So do I.
I never got a coach.
I like had the opportunity as a kid, especially with sports. My parents tried to get me some instruction in the gym, and even if in group classes, I was just not interested in it. I was too busy like being a fucking idiot, like blacking out and doing drugs and shit. I was dumb. But now learn from our mistakes. Don't do what we did.
Yeah, I actually just brought on a kid that's like 18, and he's just getting into it. I'm like, this is great.
This is great. You're young. I'm like, testosterone to the roof.
Yeah, I get to start him. I'm just gonna build him up into like a genetic freak. It's gonna be fine.
That's amazing.
Maybe he won't injure every joint in his body because he has a good coach.
Yeah, right. Maybe he won't like need handrails to sit down on the toilet when he's 26. But
I need that anyway, dude. Well, leg days are brutal.
It's post leg day. Yeah, post leg day. I don't sit down calmly. I'm like gonna break the porcelain one day. But I think it's awesome that you basically took this passion, you turned it into a business. Now you do it as a side hustle alongside your main job. Something I admire about you is I've seen you grow as a coach, as an individual, and as a coach recently, where you invest quite a bit of time and money into furthering your education and your expertise. I know right now you're under the mentorship of Austin Stout. And with your podcast, you've been solidified, among some of the most respected names in the industry. You work with Mark Tominick right now for your fitness. So it's just been really cool to watch you grow. And I'm proud to be here for it. So who else, if anyone, do you work alongside with, and who do you learn from most? Because I think a lot of people getting into this space or getting into following their passion, just like we were talking about with starting your podcast, they don't really know where to start. And I always like to say you can work your way in or you can buy your way in. So if you have someone that you want to learn from, you either buy shit from them or you offer to work for them.
Yeah.
How did you get in touch with like Mark or Austin, and what drives you to continue to invest in yourself to become a better coach?
I will say, number one, I think the podcast has helped me be able to develop these relationships with people. and find these people. So I always tell people, like you kind of said, just start doing it. You'll figure it out, work on it. Not coaching. I never say just start. I actually say have some knowledge of the human background.
Probably a good idea.
Get an in-person training job at like a big box gym first. Learn from someone.
Yeah, do something. Well, I didn't actually. My path as a coach has been very minimal. I mean, I'm just beyond year one.
You've had good guidance though.
Yeah. So I think I've been very fortunate to be who I was with. I found Mark from one of Justin's stories, like back in February or something, and didn't know who Mark was. So I started checking out a few of his posts, and I was like, dude, these are incredible. I was like, these resonate really hard with me. And I started getting in conversations with him, and we had some really cool conversations on the side, but we really didn't know each other fairly well. And so I just invited him on the podcast, like, to kind of talk about things. And like I kind of posted yesterday on my story, Mark's, at least the first episode, the second episode's more of training. The first one was like a mentality episode, kind of getting to know him and his background and how he's become who he was, kind of similar to what we're doing right now. And that episode has been one of the most impactful episodes I've released yet to date. I think that really started our coaching thing, because after then I knew he was the coach for me, just based off the bond we created we recorded 2 episodes doing a 2-hour straight podcast. I would never do that again. 2 hours is way too long, at least when you're interviewing someone. But that's how he became that. Austin was kind of down the line. Like I was a few months in, like I think it was around August. I had him on the podcast before in like May or something, and then in August I had him on again. And then when I had him on again, he discussed his mentorship, and I was kind of thinking about it. And at that time, I kind of agreed to come on. It took me until November to come on. Isn't it crazy? I say take action, and then it takes me a while. The only reason why I decided to kind of wait a few months was to give myself some time at my full-time job, kind of get into it, be able to nail my schedule down and how much time I was going to have. And then my first ever thing was honestly Muscle and Strength Pyramid books were the 2 books that I read just getting into it. So I knew what the fuck I needed to do. And also, actually your business mentor, Jason Phillips, NCI. I'm level 1 certified. So that was kind of I wanted to get a certification that was really kind of going to put me forward and at least give me something to my name, that I knew somewhat, because what am I going to write? I read the Muscle and Strength Pyramid books. Like, trust me.
Yeah, you need some sort of cert.
But I went for a cert, and it was great. They were awesome. And then as my following grew and as people would message me, like people like you, one person in particular I really go for information is Meredith Pacey. She's a coach on Scooby Prep. She's really intelligent when it comes to hormones and gut health and everything. She's incredible. And just like the relationships I built, I feel comfortable going to anybody if I have a problem. I feel like a lot of coaches just try to troubleshoot by themselves, and they don't realize that you can, if you don't know an answer, go reach out for someone to get help. Like, you might have to pay like $50 for like 30 minutes of their time or something, but that 30 minutes of time could help help fix a problem for a client that could save them a few months of work down the line.
That's right.
So a lot of people don't realize that, because when I invested in Austin's mentorship, which it's relatively actually inexpensive. I think it went up now though. At the time that I got into it, it was relatively not. I mean, I'll give it away because he does it. I'll tell you how much I paid. I paid like $1,500 for 6 months,
That's
which
cheap.
isn't bad.
Yeah,
but I'm saying I don't know what his current price is.
That's a no-brainer. That's really
as long
cheap.
as they're a halfway decent coach.
Austin, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Awesome.
but I'm like, but the problems I've been able to solve just by learning gut health, and we're finally starting to get into hormones, is like, I want to take my game to the next level. And to take your game to the next level, you really have to invest. And what really kind of sparked that too was Jason Phillips. When I signed up for NCI level 1, it was kind of crazy because I didn't think it was going to happen. And then he called me like that night, and Jason Phillips is a straight up killer when it comes to closing things. And I was like, somehow he got my card out of my wallet. And then next thing I know, I'm giving him my digits to my card, and it's good to go.
Dude, I gave him a kidney. It was crazy.
You only gave him one?
I had to give him a kidney. Oh, he is a killer, dude. He's an amazing person to learn from.
But I say I'll give people how much I've invested total over the past. Wow, I think I invested over like $4,000 in education. Mm-hmm. Like, and what was I making? You want to know how much I'm making from a client? I still have clients who are starting with me that pay $60 a month, that pay $75 a month. Like, wow. I finally just started raising my rates.
Yeah, if Jason Phillips heard you say that, he'd slap you.
Good. I hope he did. Because
he'd be like,
we just started
triple that right now.
Yeah. Well, I give a bit of benefit to most of my clients are students or they are military. So I give them a little bit of benefit when it comes to that.
Yep. You're an intelligent dude though. You got to charge what you're worth.
But I've had clients with me now since March, and they've been with me. So everything I'm learning though goes to them. Yep. It's paid off in the growth. I mean, you've seen it. I've gone from, ever since I signed up for Austin's mentorship, I mean, I've gone from 5 to 13 clients, like in the past month and a half.
That's great.
Or in the past 2 months, like 8 clients. Like that's a lot from coming from a kid who I had 3 until like June. Like it was kind of crazy. Like it was a struggle for growth, and you really hit those phases where you're like, am I really going to actually make it? And you get that kind of thought in your head, but it's like you have 3 clients. I could have 0 due to a pandemic.
How do you keep going when you have those types of thoughts?
I thought it would just pay off. I think surrounding myself with the people I was and seeing where other people were, when you kind of surround yourself with people like Josh, and I never say these people are purely my friends, like they're my social media friends, but I never met 90% of the people I consider my friends now. I haven't met in person. Internet so friends. It's like, yeah. But when you surround yourself with people who are leveling up, like really quickly, and you see people getting clients so often, it really makes you want to keep up with them. And that's what really pushes you through that doubt, is like, you have to do it. Yep. It's like, there's no other way, but you have to.
And like who you surround yourself with is key. So I think that's just a great point. It's like looking around, because everybody doubts themselves. I do it. I doubt myself all the time, but it's like, maybe there's markers that you can look around and see, So if you're surrounding yourself with people that are crushing it, then like, all right, that's a marker that means I'm on the right path, because there are some things where you just got to quit, But I think like if you're doing what you're passionate about and you have like a great circle, then, those are great, like external markers that it's going to work.
Yeah. And I think especially with social media these days, it's actually really easy to build that. And like Spada, you've got an incredible community. Not only with the guests that you have on the podcast, but like you said, the team members on specifically Team Mahaley and Team Tomanek, we've got a very supportive, very like-minded, very strong foundation of growth-oriented individuals who are just like us, like grow or die. It's like we want constant improvement. I think another important thing to note, and tell me your experience with this really quickly before we move on, is I find that when you start to attack life the way we have, with an intensity and an insatiable appetite for growth and improvement, there's naturally gonna be people that have to leave, right? You're naturally gonna outgrow people, and that's totally okay. It's hard. It's part of the process. And I'm sure you've had to do that. So how has that affected you, and how can you advise people to deal with those things? I was actually just talking to some friends this past weekend when we were in the grasslands about this. You just outgrow people. It's part of life. If you're not outgrowing people, then either you're like still one of the lesser successful people in your group, in which case you'll be one of the more successful people eventually. You'll outgrow them, you'll get a new group.
So it's pretty crazy. So I'm at home right now. It's gonna be offensive. But I kind of can't wait to get out of here. Sort of.
I feel that, man. You gotta leave your hometown.
My home life is holding me back. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy because I'm moving to DC because I work in that government contracting business. Mm-hmm. And when I was down there, that's when I recorded my first episode of my podcast. I left DC with such a positive vibe. I left it with like a full-time job offer with the company I work with. Like, we were a top 10 team during the internship. We got to present at this huge thing with like 800 people. Like, I ended my note in that city on such a high that when I found out I got the full-time job offer, I couldn't wait to move back. And I was supposed to move back in August, but due to specified reasons, I couldn't move until then. And now it's been almost like, now I probably won't move until like end of March, hopefully. And it's like, I think there's a lot of, you get people who are scared. That's when you really start to realize if you're growing. Like, if you're growing something, like I'm growing my business and there's people around me. I'm not going to say it just because I'm at home, but there's people around me and they seem scared. Like, they're interested. They're interested in what I'm building, and they kind of start to believe in what you're doing every single time you sign a new client or you do something. But you can see when people know that you're going to leave, or you're going to go build something, or that you're really going to make it happen, they start to get scared. And you have to be willing to accept that. You had to have a no fucks given attitude. That's how I describe it. Everybody's like, someone asked me the other day, this kind of goes along with it. My client asked me, how do I balance everything? I wrote this in my post the other day. I'm like, I fucking don't. I'm like, I do my shit I need to do. I do my full-time job. I leave that shit. I clock out. I go to the gym. When I go to the gym, I clock out. I'm answering client stuff. I'm like, when I'm done answering client stuff, which might only be like an hour, like, I'm going to bed. Like, it's clockwork. Like, it's putting in the time to kind of do it. There is no real balance here. Like, I don't go out, like, unless I'm with people who are like-minded, who have those same goals, like are in bodybuilding and stuff like that. Like, I don't like to hang out outside of that, because what am I going to talk to them about? Running a business? Like these people don't run a business around, like, there's not too many people around here that run businesses. Like, you always have to put yourself in a position where I always want to be the smallest one in the pond. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's how I've been able to grow. And I still think that like no matter what, even with how many clients I've grown recently, I'm still the smallest one compared to the people that I'm around. Like, when I look at people like Mark, or I look at people like Justin, or I look at people like John Childress, like, these people are like there's people growing like at rapid rates here with clients and stuff. And I always got that feeling like when I said, will I make it? Those are people who I looked up to as always seeing it. And I kind of got jealous, but then I took it back and I was like, I'm just going to use this to grow myself. Mm-hmm. And that's where people started to come out. But it's affected me too, though, because I lost some of my college friends from it. Like I've lost a lot of people that we were friends. And I really kind of regret those because we made insane memories during those 4 years. I don't say I never regret anything in life. Like that first year and a half, I said I partied. Like that was a crazy year and a half, but it was 100% worth it. Made up for everything in high school. I can tell you that. That was pretty crazy. Think about going to a huge football school such as Penn State, and your first year they upset Ohio State at Beaver Stadium. Like it's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. And I wish I knew Justin at that point, so I could have just like shown him about 1,000 videos of that happening. But I think a lot of people struggle to deal with that because they're afraid to lose, and you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to lose because you can only gain. Mm-hmm. Like that's what we said. It's the same thing as hitting rock bottom. Like you have to compare that to how you move on from people. Like you can't get worse than where you are right now. Like it's only going to get better, but with better, there comes some sacrifices. There's always a sacrifice that you have to give. Mm-hmm. I think that's the toughest part with it, especially with the coaching. Like a lot of people think what we do, like we try to go out, like we try to do things, but I'm always here for my clients. So it's like, that's my priority. So it's whatever yours priority, you have to put it front.
Yep. I completely agree. And yeah, outgrowing people is difficult, but it's a necessary part of life. And sometimes you outgrow people that are really close to you, and that's okay. You got to learn to move on. I mean, it's better for both of you instead of holding one of you being held back or, causing a rift between the relationship that you have. You really care about someone, you let them grow. Got to let them turn into a butterfly, or whatever that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll work.
Is that a Bug's? Is that a Bug's Life? Is that what that movie references?
That's a fucking Bug's Life. Yeah. Yeah. I love my Pixar shit.
It's the toughest when it's like family members because you can't let them go.
They're just always there
because they're gonna be there.
Yeah. But you don't have to let them affect you. Right.
Well, that's the thing. Wow. Is you have to let part of it go. You have to let the need for them to like understand and be fully in your life go. Yeah. You have to understand that whether it is your mom or your sibling, that if they can't handle what you're doing, and as long as you're not like whatever, Tony Montana or something. If hurting people. Yeah. If it's too much for them, you have to just basically let that idea of that you want them to be fully involved in your life go, and just they get the fake smiling, yeah, I'm doing great, how are you version of you, and that's what they have to deal with then. Mm-hmm. They can be involved in your life, but they're not going to be fully involved in your life if they're not going to be putting in the same energy.
Yeah, they have to be. If they're not going to be supportive, then
like
either support me or get the fuck out of my way. Honestly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said the no fucks given attitude.
No fucks given, dude.
And that's the hardest part about entrepreneurial stuff, because it is kind of a lonely thing. Because at the end of the day, you always have to come back to yourself and be like, I'm doing the right thing. Fuck that hater, or fuck like literally my family members if they're the ones giving you negativity. That's definitely one of the hardest parts. But I think there's just like a lot of power in like. You progress wildly when you start to like be able to do that.
For sure.
I think the moment for me, kind of like that real no fucks given, was kind of like a few weeks ago when I finally kind of submitted an application for my LLC. I've kind of been waiting to do that for like a while, but I knew I wasn't big enough, and I was like, okay, let's get to like 10 clients. Let's get to like 10 clients first. I was like, let's just get there. I said, once I get there, I'll do it. I'll just submit the application for it. And then I did it, and I was like, oh fuck, well now I actually got to do it. I was like, we're here. I was like, now I actually got to pay taxes. I was like, there we go. I was like,
son of a bitch.
Wait, you pay taxes?
Making money,
what?
baby.
Forgot about taxes. God damn it.
How do I not pay taxes? Andrew,
Business hacks.
my accountant, if
Siri.
you're listening, how do I not pay taxes?
Come on, Andrew.
Yeah. No,
Business hacks. Anybody got us advice that can save us some money?
yeah. I mean, you can not pay taxes for like
Yeah.
You can do that.
you can for a little while.
Oh, you can. Oh,
Yeah.
we've seen it.
I don't
We've seen
recommend it.
No, I don't recommend it either. It would just be it would be pretty bad.
Hey Siri, what's the
But-
fastest way to go to prison? Oh my God, she's answering.
IC is Correctional Institutions Division. Prison on SH 98 in New Boston.
All right, get out of here.
All right, thanks, Siri. Oh my God, dude.
No, I think that was kind of the moment when it really kind of struck me that I was growing something.
Yep.
And that I was growing something special. Because everything was under the same name for a while. Everything was always Ace of Spada podcast, Team Ace of Spada.
Uh-huh.
Like everything was under the mantra of become an ace in the deck of cards known as life. And then I realized, you know what? I need to change my coaching into something like that represented more than and didn't have ties to the podcast, because I want the podcast to kind of be mine and I want the business to be my team.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to separate that. So like what I'm growing is a community of a team, like for my team. My podcast community and my team's community are two separate things. They both have the same mentality, but they're two separate things now. So that was kind of that moment when like really it's like put my head down, I'm going to work.
Yep. That's awesome, man. Yeah, you've done a really great job. I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been really cool to watch you grow as a human and as a coach and level yourself up in the space. Obviously, I think you're an incredible dude. You're helping so many people in so many ways, and it's been awesome. You're well on your way to becoming one of the well-known names in the industry, and I have no doubt that I'll see you at the top, dude.
That's what I'm scared for.
That's what you're scared for? Oh, you afraid to be great? I'm just messing with you.
I'm afraid. I was afraid of the actual like growth of it.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of saw it. I was like, oh shit, this thing's kind of actually taking off. And I was kind of shocked at myself when it did. And I was like, I need to make sure my growth is kind of steady. So it's like take clients on, hold for a little bit, take more clients on, hold for a little bit, not always be taking clients on. I think I was like, I want to be able to grow kind of steadily and grow up and then look back at everything. And if I have like 50, 60 clients on my roster, it's like, oh, I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, how'd I get here? And it was like, I added these clients slowly over time. They've been with me for this long. But I've always been scared where it's like, what happens when you get to the top? Like, that's why I've always wanted to ask, like Mark and Justin will never say they're at the top, but to me, that's like the top. Like they're killing it. Like they're full-time coaches. Like they're killing it. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what's that feeling like? Because to them, it's a different perspective now than it would be to me. To me, that would be very overwhelming. They're probably overwhelmed. I'm 100% sure. But what they're feeling now in the moment is probably way less than what I'm thinking it would be.
Probably. They're just still worried about the same shit. What's next?
Yeah, I think great advice I heard earlier from somebody at the top. I don't know who it was, but a guy on a podcast. He said, never accomplish a major life goal without already having set another major life goal, because that's like, that can be a tough place to be in when you've accomplished everything and you have no goals left to accomplish.
Yeah. You never want to be like, okay, now what?
So it's just like always be setting that next step. There's always a next step.
Yeah. I think that's a good, valuable lesson, and probably a good thing for us to kind of slow down here with. We're about an hour in, hour 10 in. And, before we end here, we've been doing these fun games at the end of our shows.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so
See, I
know
do 3 questions.
You do
so
3
this
questions.
is going to be fun.
I do 10 questions, but they're rapid
shit.
fire. They're rapid
let's
fire.
go.
Okay, so
Let's do this.
This is they're like a would you rather kind of thing. Either like you call it would you rather this or that, smash or pass, whatever you want to call it. So would you rather? I got 10 of them, and these are just rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Macros or meal plans?
Macros.
Same. Long form content or short form content?
Long form.
Yep. I love podcasts. Would you rather plan ahead or wing it?
Wing it.
Yes. Would you rather force feed in off season or be in a severe calorie deficit in prep?
Force feed, because I've never been in prep. So force feed.
God. Force feeding is so hard. All right. Would you rather fight 1 lion or 100 house cats?
1 line, because I'd be dead quicker.
That's not a bad answer. Would you rather? This one's kind of weird. Would you rather be blind or trapped in an Olive Garden for the rest of your life?
Well, I'm basically already blind. My vision's starting to go anyway, so I'll just choose being blind.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I love carbs.
So many breadsticks.
So many breadsticks.
Yeah, but they took away. Yeah, but they took some of the stuff away, so it's fine.
Oh, what's it? Just free breadsticks now, not super salad?
I don't know. I thought they took away some of the stuff.
I don't know.
Bullshit.
I can make. I'm Italian. I make my own pasta, boy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm coming to your house then. All right. Would you rather make big money or have a big impact?
Big impact, 100%.
Yep. Would you rather do 500 burpees right now or get punched in the face by Mike Tyson?
Oh, 100% punch in the face by Mike Tyson.
It'd be over faster.
Yeah. I'd be in the hospital, but it'd be over faster.
Yeah, just quick nap, right? Would you
restructure draw?
Yeah. Would you rather burn your toast every time you make it or take cold showers for the rest of your life?
Burn my toast.
Yeah, I don't eat that much toast.
I don't need toast.
Yeah. Well, actually, I make a lot of bagels.
we'll include bagels, but I don't even eat. I don't eat bagels. So
see, I'm a good Jew. I eat a lot of bagels. Would you? Okay, last one. Would you rather hit a PR every time you hear "All Star" by Smash Mouth, or would you rather hear "All Star" by Smash Mouth every time you hit a PR?
Can you repeat that one?
Would you rather PR every time you hear All Star by Smash Mouth, like it comes on and then you get a PR? Or would you rather hear it every time you PR afterwards? Like you hit the PR and then All Star starts playing.
Afterwards.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm about to go over a post tomorrow. I'll give everybody a preview. Will this probably come out after, but I'm a big classical music fan.
Oh, I know you are, yeah.
When it comes down to lifting. So I can't have any hype music when I'm lifting. Like it just goes wrong.
That's so weird. Controlled aggression for me. I need like the right kind of heavy, aggressive music.
Heaviest I'll go is Nothing Else Matters.
Okay.
But that's it. Like classical music, 100%.
You know, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like going to try to listen to some classical music just to see. Because I
just play Moonlight. Just play Moonlight.
Classical music's pretty fire.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It is.
Huh.
If you find Hans Zimmer stuff, Hans Zimmer.
Oh, Hans Zimmer. Yeah. Okay. I could fuck with that.
I think
I'm also going to try elevator music.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try that.
I'll go fucking insane in like 12 seconds.
Yeah. It makes me really angry. All right. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Obviously, we've been able to connect at a pretty intimate level, and it's been awesome to watch you grow and to have you on my podcast now. And I am looking forward to reconnecting again in the future. So before I close out here, why don't you tell everyone what you got going on and where they can find you?
Awesome. Well, since we're on a podcast, I'll just shout out my own first. The Ace of Spada podcast. It's pretty cool. We're 90-something episodes in. I don't know when this releases, so we're 90-something episodes in, so it's pretty damn cool. Do that. Spada Fitness is my own personal fitness page. But I'm also growing, as I said, the LLC and everything. Team Symbiote Strength. Symbiote stands for a bond between two individuals that breeds superhuman abilities. And that's what we do when we hit PRs every single freaking day in the gym. So if you're not about it, don't come on the team. But if you're about it and you want to sign up, definitely go do it. I'm not one of those coaches that will always have 3 spots open, but if I have spots open, I'll take you on if you're willing to work. You can find that page at Symbiote Strength on Instagram too as well.
Sweet, dude. Well, I wish you the best of luck in your journey, man, in continuing to grow. I know great things are going to come from you in the future. So, y'all, that's all we've got for you guys today. Obviously, we have plenty more coming in the future. If you do want to support us, if you like this podcast, feel free to screenshot this episode, scroll to the bottom, give us 5 stars, screenshot it, share it on your story, tag me at Josh Levine Fitness, tag Travis at Travis Hawks Media, tag Anthony at Spada Fitness. Let us know what you think of the podcast. As always, we want you to reach out to us, slide into the DMs. We love communicating with y'all, creating a community. So please hit us up. We love to hear from you guys. Thank you all for tuning into episode 8. Probably.
I think so. I think that's what we intro with. I think so.
Let's go with
8 of the Struggle to Strength podcast.
We'll see.
We'll see you guys next week.
I'm Ron Burgundy.